Well, hello, and welcome to Stop Let's Team Up, My Legion Adventure, episode 80. And this week, we're going to be covering Superboy Comics Volume 1, numbers 191, 193, and 195. Those are the last three issues where Legion of Superheroes was the backup in Superboy, because in issue 197, it's still Superboy, but on the cover it says Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes, and that's issue 197. So we're going to cover 193, 191, 193, and 195. So let's get started with Superboy Volume 1, issue number 191, cover dated October 1972, cover dated August 24th, 1972. It was a 10-page story called Attack at the Sun Scavenger. It was edited by Murray Boltinoff. The only credits we have are Cary Bates writer, artist Dave Cockrum. It is been reprinted in Legion of Superheroes Archives Volume 10 hardcover, which is where I'm reading it. It was also been reprinted in Showcase Presents Legion of Superheroes Volume 4 trade paperback 2010. Roll call: Cosmic Boy, Lightning Lad, Sun Boy, Bouncing Boy, Karate Kid, Dream Girl, Princess Projector, Shadow Lass, Timberwolf, and the villain is Dr. Regulus. There is a one-sentence synopsis in the DC Fandom Wiki, which I will go with, is Dr. Regulus appears to die in an assault on the Legion, but he gets them to revive him by having his body placed within a sun. So this is, like as I said, by Cary Bates and Dave Cockrum, and I have found that I remember these fondly. These are some of the first comics I've ever read. I remember these. I remember when my brother got back issues, so I'm not sure what order, but it's where, I mean, Dave Cockrum is one reason I fell in love with Legion, period. Him and then Mike Grell. You know, I was lucky that Cockrum was early on, and I had a brother who was feeding me the old stuff. But this is a pretty good little one and done. It's not the silly mystery thing. It's not. I don't think it's the same tropes that I've been talking about recently. But it starts with a birthday party, and we find out that Sunboy is only 11 Sola, S-O-L-A years old, and 11 Sola years is roughly the same as 17 or 18 of our years. Okay. So just some techno babble to have techno babble, so future space talk, which is weird. Cosmic Boy brings in this giant statue as a present for him. It's very interpretable. It's very modern kind of statue. And it melts, and there's Dr. Regulus. And he attacks the Legion. Sunboy flies away. They battle each other. Cosmic Boy takes a mirror and to shoot the heat back at Regulus, which weakens him, and then Sunboy gut punches him, and Regulus explains that he's dying. We get a little flashback to their origin, how it's tied together, which I like, because every once in a while we could do that. And Levitz and Giffen do it regularly, where they would do the hero spotlights. So you'd get a little, if you haven't been a long-time reader, and say you didn't know Starboy, which is one of the most famous of those because it has this gorgeous Starboy cover by Giffen. But it's these things randomly, reintroduce an individual member for the audience, but also it lets you know it shows you how the Legion works. I kind of like that. And so Regulus says, hey, if you throw me in a sun, just throw me in a sun, because that's where I want my last resting place to be. And Starboy's going to go in. And we're seeing these wonderful, very Star Trek-inspired Legion cruisers, which I love. These are some of the ones I really, really loved. It's great. And they get there, and Sunboy they put the coffins out into space. And instead of him being burned up, Regulus is revived. They start fighting. But then we find out that Shadow Lass and Lightning Lad are both in these caskets as disguised as other people being buried in the sun. And they come to Starboy's aid, and it takes a team, and they defeat him. So it's a really simple story. I will say this. The art is stunning. Dave Cockrum gets all the credit. So I'm looking, Ted from Justice Trek, who was a guest on my show a while back when we talked about Justice League membership, he made a good comment on it. It doesn't. He doubts that Cockrum did the inks as well. I think he may be right. It doesn't look like Anderson, and I'm going to double. I just want to cross check both places because it's not in. If Mike's Amazing World doesn't have it exactly. I don't know who would have more. Yeah, it says it's credited in fandom as Dave. I could go either way. But overall, it's a great story, beautiful art, like I said. No new costume designs yet. We're going to get some more coming up. But everything looked good. And it's such a drastic change from, no offense, to some of the previous people that were kind of doing it while it was in backups. You know, I've said what I've thought about that art. The Tusca wasn't bad in between, but this is just such highly polished, tight art, and just made so much better for the detail and for Dave Cockrum's art. I mean, I think it's why I love Legion so much of some of this stuff. So we're going to move on to 193, which was cover dated February 1973. It was published on sale date was the 26th of December 1972. It was Murray Boltinoff. It has... Oh, wait a minute. Let us see. Who did the cover? Oh, that is not what I wanted. Again, it's Bates and Cockrum. This one is called The War Between the Night and the Days. It's been reprinted twice in the hardcover I've got, on the volume 10 and volume 5 of the Showcase Legion of Superheroes trade paperbacks from 2015. Roll calls: Dual Damsel, Chameleon Boy, Shrinking Violet, Brainiac 5, Matter Reader Lad, and Karate Kid. There is a brief synopsis on the DC Wiki fandom page. Let me go to that and I will read it to you. The Legion must prevent an atomic war between two opposing powers on the planet Paznek, the day-dwelling and night-dwelling. So it's a planet with two sides. Again, this is Cary Bates writers, and thanks to Nick Passell for the idea. Dave Cockrum is the artist. A SOS satellite, QBX-2, lands down on the campus of the Legion. Karate Kid and Brainiac 5 take a look at it, and he pulls together a team, and it's a message coming from the planet Paznek, where one side lives in dark, one side lives in light, and they've been battling for generations, and now they have nuclear weapons, so they've asked for help. So he has picked 5 Legionnaires to go. Well, there are 5 Legionnaires present. There's Chameleon Boy in a new costume, which becomes a standard. It's amazing. It's a great new costume for Shrinking Violet. It's one of my favorites of hers. I've never understood why Shrinking Violet was in green when she wasn't in violet. But this is the costume that I think of her. Karate Kid's got his white top, gray bottoms. I love this costume. And Dual Damsel gets her the first, a really good costume. It's a little cape action going. So they fly off on one of these Star Trek cruisers of theirs. It looks great. The art is, Dave Cockrum could draw outer space. Can just draw outer space. It's just, everything's perfect. And they land on the planet, and Dual Damsel and Chameleon Boy both use their powers to convince the two sides to not attack, stop the war. Dual Damsel uses a hypnoflash on one king, while Chameleon Boy has brought the other king. The two kings start fighting. One has a bomb that's going to blow up. Dual Damsel... no, it's not the bomb. He's firing the rockets, but nothing's happened. And it's because Chameleon Boy has been disguising as one of the kings, and they've learned their lessons. They fly away. Sorry, I got a little confused there because I was like, wait a minute, this is not what I remembered. It's just gorgeous, and it's not a bad story. It's a really simple story. It's 11 pages. I don't find it too short. I don't find it, padded or silly or childish. It's just, and I mean childish as in childlike, something for really young kids, and not that someone couldn't read at a high, someone who's a little older couldn't be entertained. I'm entertained by it. It's still beautiful. I mean, and I think they hold up after 50 years. I have a sentimental attachment to it, so that changes my view. But I think this issue still holds up, and his character designs on the aliens are just spot on, man. One of the best character designers ever in comic books, period. So now to the last of the issues or stories we're talking about, which is from issue 190. 5 of Superboy. Let me give you some of the pertinent data from Mike's Amazing World in the Fandom Wiki. This was cover dated June 1973. March 20th, 1973 was the release date. This could be when I remember being on, we were moving across country, I just remember reading this comic that summer. I remember this comic viscerally because I remember this is so close to when I read 197. I don't know if I read them in the same order because I didn't always get the comics from my brother in the same order. But it's a great comic. It's got it's edited by Murray Boltinoff. It is a 9-pager. It is called The One-Shot Hero. Features Legion of Superheroes, of course. It's Bates and Cockrum, but it is inked by Murphy Anderson, which is not credited here, but it is on the Fandom Wiki. And that makes sense. It looks very much like Cockrum Anderson. This has been reprinted 4 times. Best of DC number 33, 1983. Tales of the Legion of Superheroes 343, that's 1987. Legion of Superheroes Archives Volume 10, year 2000, which is what I'm holding in my hands. I did read this on the app as well, because it is on the app. Showcase presents Legion of Superheroes Volume 5, Tradeback 2015. Roll Call, Lightning Lad, Chameleon Boy, Colossal Boy, Phantom Girl, Shrinking Violet, Bouncing Boy, Mon-El, Ultra Boy, Princess Projector, Chemical King, and introducing Erg-1. He is applying for membership. Who is this Erg-1? Let us do the synopsis for this little story, and then I will talk about who is Erg-1. Synopsis for this is a new candidate for the Legion comes in the form of Erg-1, a teen who was converted into energy, which is stored in a containment suit. But he also has a secret power which he can only use once, thus dooming him. So okay, yeah, spoilers. Erg-1 will become Wildfire. This is his first appearance. I love this splash page. It's it's from his point of view, a little blow right under his tushy, looking up, and Mon-El, who's the leader at the time, is presiding. And there's the curved podium. You got Phantom Girl, Chameleon Boy, Shrinking Violet, Princess Projectra in a new costume, or is it a new costume? I don't know. Chameleon Boy and Colossal Boy in a very weird precursor to his next costume. It is a funny color thing. But Erg, comes up, he applies, he tells him about himself, how he got his powers. He can do chemical reactions like Chameleon Boys. He can fly, he can blast, he can shrink, he can do pass through things. He can do a lot of things the other members do. And they're like, just a moment, you're telling me you can duplicate powers we already have. And he goes, yes, so far. You see, right now, my abilities are still in the experimental stage. We can't accept that excuse. I'm afraid you're not Legion material, says Mon-El. You've demonstrated you can imitate many of us, but according to the rules, every member must possess a unique superpower all his own. And since you don't have... Just a minute. I didn't mention it. And this is Wildfire. Drake's. Let's call him by Zing. Drake Burroughs. I didn't want to mention it, but you forced me to admit. I do have a secret power none of you can match. Well, that we'd like to see. And then Wildfire goes, Erg goes, I can't. Don't ask me to explain, but I can't show you. There's no need to tell me. I know, I'm disqualified. And that when we get, this may not have been inked by Murphy Anderson, because there's a panel on page 5 that Bouncing Boy in the doorway screaming, big and crucial. Bouncing Boy off panel yells, Mon-El. Mon-El says, what's troubling you, Bouncing Boy? And Bouncing Boy goes, big and crucial. The Planetary Federation is sending us an SOS. Come on. And that Bouncing Boy looks like George Suska inserted it. And then we see... cut to Phantom Girl saying goodbye to Erg-1. She says, I think you made a fine member. And then we get the message that Man of 5 and agricultural planet is in need. Their machines are going... Ruthless Gang is unleashed a terrible eating machine on man, consuming our crops by the ton. They've called it Devourer. So we cut the Legion in one of their cool Star Trek cruisers. And we see Chameleon Boy, Phantom Girl, and Colossal Boy jump out to fight him. And we see someone coming out of the shadows off the ship. Chameleon Boy's radiation cobalt does nothing. Phantom Girl can't pace through without being zapped. Colossal Boy in this weird blue tan with a harness costume. It's very odd. It's very odd color choices. He just gets knocked down by a machine, knock him out, so he's shrinking. He's about to get vacuumed up. And then Urg shows up, and Urg opens his visor, and all this energy pours out, blows up the Devourer, and then the Legionnaires put out the fire. They swing back, and they go, "Oh no!" Okay, Phantom Girl goes, "Oh no, it can't be. He did it. He choked. He saved me," says Colossal Boy. Chemical King goes, I never would have suspected. No wonder he didn't want to dare to demonstrate before us." Colossal Boy goes, "He had the power he could only use once, never again. It took all of this poor boy's anti-energy," says Phantom Girl. And we see the empty suit. Dun, 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 dun. It's a great introduction to a character who he is back in issue 200. He joins in issue 202. He's leader within 2 years. He becomes one of the biggest stars of the book in the upcoming years. He is he's the first new character in a while that has moved to prominence. I think Projecta did a little bit. Karate Kid and Fairlad and Projecta kind of shared the limelight. Chemical King didn't really. He was in a lot. They put him in a lot of stories. He was in a lot of the backups once he was introduced. He was in most of them. But I don't think he ever hit it as big. But Wildfire, and then Dawn Star, and then, say, Block, Invisible Kid 2, White Witch. Those are all kind of Legionnaires that, I was there early on for me in some ways. But this is a great story. The art's stunning. I would love to hear what you guys think of Colossal Boy's costume. I'm glad it only looks like this the once, because I do like what comes up next a lot. So, but this was a great introduction. Beautiful art. Pitch perfect storytelling. I'm excited because next My Legion adventure, I will kind of review what I said about 197 previously, and then we'll cover 198 and 199, and then 200 will get its own look because it's such a big deal. It's the wedding of Bouncing Boy Dual Damsel. So, hey folks, thank again for listening. Please keep following, share on YouTube, whatever you can do to help expand the audience. I know I'm kind of up and down with putting stuff out, but that's just because life gets busy. But I'm really trying to keep up at least one a week, sometimes 3 like this week. So just please share, some reviews on wherever you listen to me, whether it be Apple or Spotify or Podbean or YouTube. Everything helps, and I appreciate the people that listen to the show and comment, and you're all amazing. But until then, hey folks, be safe, be smart, be kind to one another, and read some comics. Find some comics by Dave Cockrum. Well, hello, and welcome to Opal City Confidential. That's not this fucking podcast.